In today's video, I'm going to discuss how to improve your leg work in your golf swing. We're going to be looking at what one of the world's best drivers of the golf ball does to use the ground so well, Rory Mcilroy. Make sure you check out this video. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today in our indoor studio. And today's video, as I mentioned there in the intro, is all going to be about the lower body, improving your lower body movements. And I'm going to be really focusing on the swing of Rory Mcilroy and what he does so well to produce so much power from quite a small frame, but really utilizing his lower body perhaps better than anyone else out there. If you're new to my channel and you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. The details just coming along the bottom of the screen. Right now, we're going to jump into this one. So what you've seen from some of that slow-mo footage there of Rory's swing is what his lower body's really doing. And I'm going to focus more on the downswing than anything else, but I will discuss what the hips are starting to do in the backswing. But the real detail is going to be in the downswing movement. And a good way for you to view this is to perhaps put an alignment stick through your belt loops. You could just use your belt itself as a pretty good indication point. And this is relevant with different golf clubs, but I'm just going to set up here as if I'm hitting a driver. So what we see in the backswing is the trail hip will rise a little bit as it rotates behind. So there's not a huge change in terms of what's happening with the belt. There is rotation, and there is the feeling that the lead side is moving a little bit down as the trail side moves up. More with the upper body, but that is affecting the lower body tilt as well. So you will see my trail hip moves a little bit up and a little bit behind me. But what Rory does so well, and we see this with really all power hitters, is in the transition, in the downswing movement, there is lateral forces, that is pressure moving in towards his lead side. There is rotation, okay, so rotational forces, his hips getting back to about square by halfway down, so then he can start to get open at impact. And we really see with the power hitters, their pelvis, their belt buckle pointing more towards the target by the time they strike the golf ball, and Rory's no different to that. A lot of rotational forces, but you'll also see some great vertical forces, so he uses all of them. So the vertical part is because he's pushing down here, and we actually see his hips, his pelvis lower in the early part of the downswing and then rise again into impact. Just the same way you would do if you were jumping, you'd push down before you spring up. So this is Rory pushing down here. You will see the pelvis, the belt lower as it starts to rotate, and then into impact, you'll see the opposite. It starts to rise as it starts to extend. So you'll see a real pelvis change. And that's why using an alignment stick is a very, very good idea. And I've done quite a few videos recently talking about how to use the forces better. And I will put some ideas in this video. This is perhaps just a bit of a linking them all together, really. So I've looked at them all individually using lateral forces, rotational forces, the vertical forces. What we see with the power hitters, someone like Rory, who's pound for pound, perhaps one of the longest drivers out there, is he's really using all of them, and he's using all of them to huge effect to propel the ball so far. That means he's obviously got a lot of short clubs into the green, hits it closer to the green, can hold more putts. So it really has a knock-on effect because he's using the power so well. Now, if you're not used to this, this is going to upset your quality of contact a little bit to start with. So I'm not expecting you to take it straight to the golf course, or I wouldn't want you to take it straight to the golf course. I really want you to do some practice time on it first of all. As I said, as a bit of a recap there, what we see is the trail hips and my right hip will move a little bit up and a little bit behind me. But the key move here, we see with the Rory and long hitters, is in the downswing, there is a lowering of the pelvis, moving downwards, okay, as we add in some rotation. So as the hips get back to about square. So what I've done is three things there. As I started the downswing, my pressure is moving towards my lead side, towards my left foot. My pelvis is lowering, which is going to help me then push up in a second, creating those vertical forces. And my hips are rotating back to about square, about where they were at setup. Now, from this delivery position here, and remember our lowest point of our swing is at the last parallel position. That's where my hands are at their lowest point. What we see with Rory is his lead hip, his left hip, is now moving up and rotating. Okay, so he's really moving up and rotating this way, pushing off the ground. We start to see that lead leg move more up. So I said, if you're not used to this, this is going to perhaps affect your ball turf strike to start with. I'd perhaps start with some irons before you move on to some woods, maybe start off a small tee. But if you're looking to generate more speed, looking to be more efficient with your lower body movement, this is a great place to start. And observing swings like Rory is really going to help you understand what's happening here in the downswing. Now, what could we do in terms of exercises? I'm just going to get rid of this one across my hips. If I put an alignment stick in the ground, I've just got in a little weight here that I could use. I could get this against my backside, and I'd try and feel like I'm staying against it on the backswing, albeit it'll be more my trail hip, my right bum cheek will be on that line. You can hear there my microphone's hitting it. In the downswing, what I want to try and feel like I do is as I rotate back to about square and that pressure's moving forwards, I'm keeping my backside on or behind that line. What we see with so many golfers is this movement, they're pushing and thrusting forwards. What we saw with Rory is that lowering of his belt buckle meant his backside stayed out. In that transition movement and then into impact, we really see this rising movement. Now, this could be a number of things. It doesn't have to be an alignment stick. If you're at home, perhaps doing some swings in the office while you should be working, get a bar stool, a kitchen stool, office chair against your backside, or perhaps on a driving range, even your golf bag, and put your bag against your backside. And just that awareness, my bum is on the line, I'm even turning the chair here, my pelvis is lowering and my backside is staying back in that transition movement. And now I've got a load of stored energy. My pressure's into my left side. I'm pushing down into the ground. My hips are already back to square. I've just got to allow my lead side to rotate and to start to extend. So that now it's the left hip. So there is a pushing downwards movement before there is a pushing upwards movement. And doing some exercises with something behind you can be really, really helpful. I'm just going to go ahead. I think perhaps it's a little bit easier using this one, using the alignment stick here. Now I'll have to play around with the position of it slightly. And as I said, this is relevant with different golf clubs. You may want to start with an iron, first of all. And the real model is, of course, Rory rather than my swing. But I'm just trying to demonstrate the exercise here. So I'm going to put the alignment stick on my backside line, or close to it at least. And I'm trying to get that feeling of almost pushing the cane backwards in that transition as my belt lowers. So I'm just almost feeling like my belt buckle moves back towards pointing at the golf ball and down a little bit. I can definitely feel some downward pressure into the ground to start to use those vertical forces then on the through swing. See if I can generate a little bit more speed from there. So really got the feeling, it might have been a bit high out the head, although it was down my target line, but I really got the sensation that there was this movement, and it wasn't my best strike, it was high out the head and did lose me some distance. When you're feeling something a little different to you, when you're trying to generate some speed, when you're working on that lower body movement, don't expect miracles straight away. Don't worry about the ball flight straight away. Look at what the lower body's starting to do. As that feels more comfortable, yes, then you can take it to the golf course. But using something behind you and getting that sensation that we're working as Rory did in that downswing, it's this movement that we're starting to get. So even if I haven't got the golf club there, this movement, my pressure's moving to my left side, my pelvis is lowering. That's allowing that backside to stay out, and you can see there is some rotation back towards the target. So my hips have turned here, so my right hip is further behind me. They've got to recenter before they can start to open into impact. So just doing some exercises, whether it's an iron, whether it's a wood, having the alignment stick there can be a real good indication. Especially when you look back at video, even if you don't feel it in the actual swing, if you can get yourself on camera from down line, that's that feeling I want in that transition movement before my hips can start to really push up. Now that felt a better strike. Going a bit left to target, but really felt a good contact. Now I love an exercise just to finish with. I would encourage a lot of golfers to get to that delivery position, and this is an easier drill with an iron. So that pelvis movement that we're talking about, the pressure forwards, the lowering of the pelvis here, now I can start to work up. And my hips have started to rotate, so they're back to about square. From this position, little pump movement, and from here I can really focus on that lead hip moving up and behind me on the way through. So what we see with Rory, that's once he's pushed down, he's pushing up into impact. So if we actually hit some from just pre-impact, I've lowered here, little pump move. And what you'll initially do is you'll probably hit them a little heavy because you'll be lower and then you'll stay low. As to what we see with the power hitters is from this movement, the pelvis is moving up again. So they're starting to use those vertical forces, just like you would do if you were jumping. Big power source if you can start to get it. It might not add consistency to your game straight away. So don't expect to go out there and take this to the Sunday medal. But doing some exercise, some work to really work on the pelvis movement. If we could get a lower body movement more like Rory Mcilroy's, would definitely be generating some more speed, which is the real purpose behind today's video. If the video has helped, as I mentioned at the start, hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can, and don't forget to subscribe. Cheers guys, I'll see you soon.